Well, my presentation is Come Back Strong, Success After Injury. I've been through a few injuries throughout my career, so he mentioned just a few of them. He kind of did my highlights, but these were just it again. I was also on the U.S. national team for about 12 years, competed in numerous international competitions and represented my country, which is an amazing thing to be able to do, and I'm so proud of everything that I've been able to accomplish in my career. Some of the injuries that I've been through, broken hand, hamstring tear, that was also a very tough one to come back from. I was 11 turning 12. Didn't listen to my body enough. It started as a minor tear. I kept training. I thought it was just sore, and then it actually gave me a minor hairline fracture because I kept training. Broken foot, bone spurs, the rotator cuff and labrum repair, which is what I'm gonna be focusing on. Ankle fracture and biceps tendon tear. I have great shoulders. So my right shoulder. I had a minor injury to my right shoulder at a competition in April of 2006. And knew something was wrong, just didn't know how bad. So the biggest thing was finding a doctor around here. At first, USA Gymnastics wanted me to see Dr. Andrews, but we didn't want to have a doctor that I had to fly to see all the time. And the year prior, our team doctor, Dr. Nassar, had found a group here for a foot and ankle specialist, and there was also a shoulder specialist in the practice. And actually my dad had him repair his shoulder early in April, or earlier that year in 2006. So we were very lucky to find Dr. Pennington. And I also wanted a doctor who would be upfront with me, give me the facts right away, tell it to me straight, because it's just what you need when you're injured. And for that, it turned out to be just very minor tears, and I had to just rest and rehab, and wasn't too bad, but I was able to get back to full strength, and because I wanted to make the World Championship team in October later that year, with the selection process starting in about July, so time was kind of the essence, but I was able to, like I said, get back to full strength 100%, felt great. Training was going really well. I did make that World Championship team, but unfortunately, during our team final, in the middle of my uneven bars routine, I felt and heard my shoulder tear. And at that point, so many thoughts were going through my head. I'm like, should I stop? Should I keep going? Will it hurt really bad? So I kept going, just like, all right, I'm still going. How do I play so I can show you? This is actually a video of when I tore it. Yeah, this is a routine from. Not my favorite routine. A lot of people thought that's when I hurt my shoulder, but it wasn't. Made a mistake. This is one of my least favorite routines to actually watch. It is right here. And then I'm thinking, oh, well, what should I do? I'll just keep going, see what happens. I was able to finish. Yeah, so that was with my torn labrum and rotator cuff. I knew it was a lot worse than what it was earlier in April. I just didn't know how bad. There was not our team doctor, but the doctor at the Worlds there was like, oh, I don't think it's that bad, it's probably not any worse. And I'm like, dude, I can't lift my arm anymore. It's like, I think it's a little bit more major than last time. But after the uneven bar routines, we didn't really have time to assess it, and I also did a balance beam and a floor routine. And then, yes, after the competition, it was starting to feel worse and worse. Couldn't really lift my arm. I had to pull out of all-around finals, which I was leading in 2 of the event finals that I made. That was devastating to me because I wanted to defend my world title and wasn't able to. And so yeah, that was a really difficult time. So went home, went back to the doctor, got the MRI, and it was the torn rotator cuff and labrum. Obviously, surgery was in for it this time. Surgery in November of 2006. It was a rough surgery, or rough recovery. But I also went in to the surgery and also telling the doctor that I have to be able to do everything again. That is my goal, so please fix it so I can do everything, no pressure. And then just the emotional impact of the injuries is just something that's really hard to deal with. Anger, frustration. Be angry and be frustrated that it happens, but only for a short period of time. Let it out, get it out, but then it doesn't do anything to help the healing process if you're angry and frustrated. It actually hinders it. And yeah, all the questions that go through your head: will this end my career? Will I ever be the same? How will this affect my future goals? How long will I be out? How hard will this rehab process be? So I did allow myself to think of all that, but not for very long. And then I moved on to all the positives. This will not end my career. I will compete again. I will accomplish all my goals. I will do all the skills that I was able to do before. I will take the time to let my body heal, and I will do as much rehab as necessary, and I will keep physically fit in the process. And my parents were my biggest supporters and the reason I could get past all the negative thoughts. I think having a support system is one of the most important things that you can have when you're in a sport and when you're going through an injury, because that is the hardest time that there ever is. And they always reminded me that it happened. You can't change it. You just have to move on. And no matter how bad things seemed at the time, it would get better. So support system was huge. Rehab, my favorite part. Finding the right physical therapist. That's the biggest thing too. They're the person after the surgeon who is going to get you back. I was very lucky to find an awesome physical therapist very early on in my career. She had a general knowledge of gymnastics, which was key, and she had rehabbed me back from all my previous injuries, so really it was a no-brainer that she could get me back from my shoulder surgery. Thank you, Cheryl. And I wanted to stress the importance of having a knowledge of the sport you're helping someone rehab back to, especially gymnastics. We go above and beyond the norm for strength and flexibility. If you don't have that knowledge, you're not going to be able to give them the best tools of being able to train again. And the doctors too, they need a general knowledge of the sports that you're treating the injuries for. We had a girl at our gym that broke her arm and was in a cast for 6 weeks. No biggie, it was a clean break. The doctor she saw didn't prescribe her any rehab after. And coaches tried to get her to she came back, she's like, I'm ready to go. And they're like, no, you kind of got to take it easy, build up your strength again. But she was so insistent to do gymnastics again because the doctor had cleared her. And she re-broke her arm that same week. Just an injury that didn't need to happen because she didn't do the proper rehab. Not a fun I told you so moment for the coaches, but it was like, we tried to get you to rehab, but so that's, and I've seen that way too many times just because of improper rehab and just the kids don't want to do it. So I think as doctors and therapists, you need to stress how important the rehab is and how much strength and flexibility you can lose when you take time off. I don't think the general public knows that or accepts that sometimes, because even for me, I was super healthy. I take a week off training, you come back and you're like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? And it's like, you lose that so quickly. And when you take the time off from the injury, like the 6 weeks or the 8 weeks, it's not just the part that was hurt that suffers, everything does. And then setting realistic rehab goals, that was huge. You have to have goals and something to work towards while you're rehabbing. Communication with my physical therapist was huge, telling her where I wanted to be and when, and she would say, we would tweak that to have it, have the short term. This is what you should be able to do by the end of the week, by the end of the month, and in 6 months you should be able to do a handstand comfortably again. Having something to work towards during the rehab process is key, because then you actually feel like you're making progress. Yes, and having the general timeline of where you want to be and when. Rehab exercises for my shoulder. That was so fun. Well, it was like starting off from zero again after surgery. I was prescribed a mobility chair right away, moving my arm. I watched a lot of TV during that time, and it was boring. But physical therapy started out really easy with massaging, manual mobility, slowly progressed to doing things on my own, working on getting my strength back to be able to lift my arm above my head. That was a huge step. TheraBands, those were also my best friend. I did those till I retired. Lots of stretching. I needed to get all my flexibility back. Like I said, going into the surgery, I will get all my skills, especially on uneven bars, back, and getting that flexibility back was one of the main focuses, and getting all the tiny little muscles in there strong. Throwing the medicine ball, all that, hanging on the bar, handstand work, stretching, the light weights. And the small exercises never went away, even when I got stronger and was able to do things again. I think that's also important to let the patients know, that continue to do the exercises, especially if you've had a major repair. Even though that repair job is great, you still need to keep all those little muscles firing to remind you to work when they need to work. And treating therapy like you treat training. That's a hard thing to also learn, and I was lucky to learn early on. But when I went into the gym, I did all my exercises and anything else that I could. The only day off I took from rehab was Sundays, just like regular training. It's just, rehab is so important. Communicate with your patients how important it is, and it's boring, but try to make it fun or make a game out of it. My dad would have us do conditioning competitions just to kind of get us excited about doing it again. And again, communicate to your patients too, to not just do therapy in the office. You have to take it home with you. You have to do it if you want to heal properly in the amount of time, that you want to get back to where you should be. Rehab continued. Sport and movement specific exercises. This was huge for me and for gymnasts in general. My therapist was so great at coming up with new exercises or modifying ones so they would make more sense for my training. Just getting normal range of motion back wasn't the goal. I needed my range of motion and my flexibility back. We did show her videos of skills I needed to be able to do again. She would come up with exercises that were specific for that skill. She would also come into the gym if I was having trouble with something, and she could, watch it and tweak it if it needed to be tweaked, or say, hey, try this exercise or do it this way instead of that. And, and she would fix it. She went above and beyond for me. For example, one of the release moves on bars, like a normal flexion is between 170 and 180 degrees, but for the release move that I do on bars, the degree of motion at the release point is about 220 degrees. Without her measuring and knowing this, it would have taken a lot longer to get the skill and that range back, even at all. So going above and beyond for me allowed me to be able to get that skill back, perform it successfully right away, without pain. That was key. And again, it was time management. I hurt myself in November of 2006, and Olympics were in 2008. Also, too, you have to work on your other body parts and weakness areas, stressing that to the patients as well. You can't forget about the rest of your body when you're injured. You lose muscle and flexibility just as easily in a healthy body part when you don't make it work. I tried to use that time to strengthen my lower body and my weakness area, which were my ankles at the time. So I did a lot of lower body work in addition to all the shoulder rehab. I wanted my legs and the rest of my body to be physically fit and ready for gymnastics when my shoulder was. Can you support your own body weight? Can you do the handstands? Can you do everything comfortably? Is your shoulder, is your body ready to start doing the flipping again? Flexibility. Are you back to your pre-surgery flexibility? Again, that's need to be able to do those motions pain-free before you put the skills there. Mobility. Can you move it around quickly without pain? I mean, these skills happen very, very fast. If you can't do it slowly, you're not going to be able to do it quickly. There we go. The movement-specific exercises. Are you doing the specific exercises for the skills that you need to do? Again, for especially my release moves on bars, can you do those easily with no pain? Fitness. Are you in shape? Again, gymnasts really, really need to be fit. We throw our bodies around in the air. We support our own body weight at any given moment. I know from personal experience that a few pounds can make a huge difference, especially when you're training on a repaired shoulder. I know it is a touchy subject, but again, it's something that needs to be communicated to the patients, especially who are in sports, that being physically fit when you're coming back from an injury is of great importance. And that was one of the hardest parts for me of staying fit while coming back from injury. You can't move like you were before. It's not as easy to just go for a run, or you're not training 4 hours a day. So it is really hard to stay in shape, but it is possible. Endurance, building training endurance again. This is the last and hardest thing to get back. Working up to training full-time takes time. Especially the shoulder, and the rest of your body won't be ready to jump into a 5-hour practice again the day that you get released to train everything again. It takes time to build all of that, and it's another thing that can be frustrating, to us when we're coming back. It's like, all right, I'm ready, but then, your shoulder and the rest of your body gets tired after 2 hours, and it's like, come on, I'm ready to go. But it takes time. Remind people that have the patience, it will come back. Especially, like for me, beam and floor were the first events to come back fully. It took the time. Like gymnastics, when you break it down, is essentially 4 sports for each event. Guys, they have 6. And each event came back in their own time, but bars was by far the slowest for me. It's all upper body. It took me over a year from the time of surgery to be back to completely full shape on uneven bars. I mean, that's a long time, a lot of patience with that, but it does eventually come back. The emotions during rehab, I've said it so many times, but it's one of the hardest things to go through is coming back from an injury. You're frustrated, it's annoying, you get impatient, it's irritating. You get angry with how slow the process seems to take. And you're working to get things back that used to be so easy, and instead of training skills and the routines that you love to do, you're doing these exercises. It's like, all right, how many hundreds of thousands of these can I do? And it's hard to keep a good attitude while going through this process. But setting the goals is what helped me the most, and having my support system there. Going into the gym and seeing the girls, they're like, oh, you made progress today. It helps. It's like, oh, they see that I am doing more. And then when the progress gets slow, my parents reminded me that it was still process and things would get easier. I remember the day so clearly, the day I could lift my arm above my head like with no pain. And I was like so excited. I was like, yes, sure, I can lift my arm. And then I'm like, I got like depressed because I'm like, I just got excited because I could lift my arm again. After all the things I was able to do before, I'm excited to lift my arm. But it was a huge step and progression in that rehab process that I was able to do. And I was excited, but I didn't need to get so sad after. And rehab, it is challenging, but it's not the same kind of challenge that training is. It's not as fun, and it is hard to stay motivated while training. Trying to remember that every improvement, small as it may be, will get you that much closer to the end goal of doing all your stuff again. And then the other emotion comes back of, great, you can do gymnastics again, but you can't do everything. That's another hard part of coming back. You feel so great to be flipping and doing some of the things you can do again, but then it's like so frustrating that you can't do everything. And it's like taking a step back and saying, I can do this stuff, but I will be eventually be able to do everything. That's, again, it's the hardest part. And rehab is by far the hardest part of getting injured, but the right attitude with a solid support system can make it a lot easier. And make it the ultimate challenge. That's one of the things that my mom really put in. She's like, Chell, this is your ultimate challenge, your ultimate test of an athlete, of your entire career. This is the biggest challenge that you are going to face and try to overcome. And that really helped me. Returning to competition. Take it slow, being realistic, doing the right preparation, having the right mindset, and doing all those rehabs. Getting back onto the competition floor can be really, really intimidating, especially if you've been out for a significant period of time. My first competition back, I only competed one event just to kind of test out and see. I think it was probably 8 or 9 months from the day of the surgery that I competed again. That's a long time, especially in gymnastics with how short our careers are. But it felt great to be out there again, but a little scary. It's like, ooh, I haven't done this in a while. And at that point, I was still working on getting back to full strength with everything else. I was able to do everything, just not put it all together in the full routine. It was still working on that training endurance to be able to do everything again all the time in the full routine. Floor was the first event I competed on, and it went well. I did everything well, but it was hard to go out and not do everything, but it was good to get that confidence that I can still compete. And then it was over a year from the surgery before I competed all 4 events at full strength. I had competed all 4 events, I think November, December of 2007, but it still wasn't my full bar routine. And during this time too, you really have to listen to your body and learn to tell the difference between when something is tired and sore, or you actually did slightly tweak it. And that takes a lot of years of practice, and I was lucky to be able to know that fairly early on, to say, hey, I need a day or two. This is a little more than a sore muscle, or it's sore, I can push through it. It'll be fine tomorrow with a little ice and stuff. But that's huge too, to communicate to the patients, to be able to listen to their body and see what it's trying to tell them. But when I was able to compete again at full strength, I had even improved on my bar routine, which exceeded my goals. I made it even harder. It felt incredible to be able to do that. It made all the days of the boring rehab worth it. I took the time to heal and rehab properly, and I know that if I hadn't, I wouldn't have been able to get back to competition like I had. And I was able to make the Olympic team in 2008. That was my biggest dream and my biggest goal. And it felt just incredible to hear my name being called to that team after everything I've been through, not just the shoulder injury, but that was the hardest one to come back from. But to know all the work that I had done made it all worth it. And I have my surgeon for the awesome repair job, and my physical therapist who went above and beyond to help me rehab back, and my family to thank for that. Pretty cool thing. So success, it's a hard word to say sometimes. Success is possible after your injury. You need to find the right doctor and the right therapist who you trust can get you to be back to where you want to be. Have a support system there to lean on the days that get really tough, because there will be plenty. And it will get really hard. Recovery and rehab were the hardest things that I've ever had to do in my career. My family, coaches, and teammates made those tough days easier by encouraging me. Communicate with your therapist and coaches with how you're feeling. Things may need to be tweaked on that day, or an exercise may not be working, so figure something else out. Never stop rehabbing a major injury. That's also a huge point that I want to make again. Something was repaired, and even though it's strong again, you need to keep doing those exercises until you retire, or after, as my therapist reminded me, while you're going to be lugging a kid around, you should probably start doing your shoulder exercises again. But again, reminding people that you need to always continue with your exercises. And having the right mindset throughout the whole process is so important. A positive mind and a positive way of thinking, I think, will help you come back faster and stronger if you believe that you can. And you have to do the rehab either way, so you might as well be positive about it. I mean, and this is my routine at the Olympics, harder than what I had competed before. Okay. I can make it bigger for this one, right? We'll see. Maybe not.
Year after year after year, and I am sure, based on what she has told us, that she has considered that this will be the last thing that she does in gymnastics.
You like watching this one, don't you?
This one's okay.
First release right here. Very nicely done. Chellsie has been doing this basic routine for so many years.
And then I'm about to finish.
To be able to really perfect all of those elements. The problem happened right after this full pirouette. Perfect. Watch this here. She's going to scoop her legs in and jam to a handstand.
Right to the dismount. Wow.
It's my dad.
You really do need short-term memory loss.
You know, a lot of people thought, do you think they'll put Chellsie in the lineup?
So that was a fun routine to end on. There is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs. I learned that a lot.